You've reorganized the same room 3 times. You've spent real money at the container store. You've downloaded the checklists, watched the videos, made self-promises. Yet the clutter, it's still there. So at some point, you start wondering, is this just who I am? Here's what I want you to know before we go any further. It's not you. Hi, I'm Kat. I'm an ADHD organizing specialist and coach, and I've been doing this work since 2017. In this video, we're going to talk about the connection between ADHD and chronic disorganization, what it actually is, why it happens, and what you can do when every normal organizing method has already failed you. Because if this is where you are right now, you're not doing it wrong. You're just using a system that wasn't built for your brain. Let's start with what I think is the number one important thing to address, because most of my clients come to me carrying a lot of weight. And I'm not talking about clutter. I'm talking about the words people have used to describe them their whole lives. Messy, scattered, lazy, forgetful, inconsistent. When you hear those words enough times, from family, from partners, from teachers, the tendency is to believe that it is true. But here's what those labels miss entirely. This isn't a character flaw. It's a systems problem. And those are very different things. Understanding that distinction is usually where our work begins, because you can't build a system that works for you if you're still convinced you're the problem. Let's talk about what's actually going on neurologically, and I promise I won't go too clinical. ADHD is a developmental condition. It affects how the brain develops and functions, particularly in an area called the prefrontal cortex. This area handles things like planning, decision-making, focus, and self-regulation. Now, not every ADHD brain looks the same. The condition shows up differently from person to person. But what many people with ADHD share is difficulty with what we call executive function, the mental skills that manage everyday life. That includes starting tasks, managing time, prioritizing, remembering steps, staying focused, making decisions, adjusting when things don't go to plan. And here's the part that I think is really important to understand. Knowing what to do and actually doing it are two completely different things. You might genuinely want an organized home. You might watch every video, read every article, buy every product. But if the part of your brain responsible for initiating and sustaining that effort works differently, wanting it isn't enough. And this is not a willpower problem. So what does executive function difficulty actually look like in your house? So it might look like starting to declutter your bedroom and then finding something that belongs in the kitchen, walking into the kitchen, noticing the dishes, and suddenly you're doing the dishes while your bedroom is still torn apart. Sound familiar? Or it might look like losing your keys, your glasses, your phone, not occasionally, but constantly. It might look like forgetting appointments you fully intended to keep, or underestimating how long something will take, feeling so overwhelmed by the pile that you just leave the room. Or, and this one surprises people, it might look like organizing for 6 hours straight one Saturday and not being able to touch it again for 3 weeks. That inconsistency isn't laziness. It's fluctuating attention, energy, and executive function capacity, and it overlaps heavily with something called chronic disorganization. Chronic disorganization, or CD, has 3 specific characteristics. 1, it's been happening for a long time. Not a rough week, not a busy season. We're talking months or years of this being a pattern. 2, it affects your daily quality of life. Stress, embarrassment, strained relationships, financial consequences, difficulty using parts of your own home. It's not just inconvenient, it has real impact. 3, it comes back, even after you've tried to fix it yourself. This is the person who has cleared a room, bought the bins, tried the challenges, and watched it all fall apart again. That's not failure. That's a sign that the method didn't address the root cause. Now, one more thing worth clarifying, chronic disorganization is not the same as hoarding disorder. They can overlap, but they are not the same thing. I have a different series breaking that down in my channel if you want to check it out. ADHD doesn't automatically lead to chronic disorganization. And not everyone who's impacted by chronic disorganization has ADHD, but the overlap is significant. And once you understand why, it makes complete sense. Think about everything maintaining an organized home requires. You have to notice something needs attention, decide what to do about it, estimate how long it'll take, start, remember the steps, make decisions about individual objects, stay focused through the whole thing, and then repeat it often enough that it actually sticks. That's a lot of executive function stacked one on top of the other. So for someone whose brain handles those steps differently, just put it away isn't a solution. It's where the real question starts. Is the storage too far from where the items get used? Does putting it away require opening 3 different containers? Is it hidden once it's stored? Out of sight, out of mind? Does the person even remember the system exists a week later? Those questions tell us so much more than why can't you stay organized? Now, before you can build organizing systems, decluttering usually has to come first. Too many objects competing for your attention will overwhelm even a well-designed system. After close to a decade of doing this work, here's what I found actually helps. Create structured flexibility. ADHD brains do well with structure, but rigid routines break down fast. So instead of I must declutter every Saturday from 9 to 11, give yourself a few acceptable options, like 15 minutes after breakfast, 1 drawer before lunch, body doubling session once a week. The structure gives you a starting point. The flexibility lets it survive in real life. Make the systems visible. Out of sight, out of mind, like literally. Use clear containers, open shelving, labels, and visual checklists where you can. A label that says cables is infinitely more useful than expecting yourself to remember which unlabeled box has the phone charger. Make the goal smaller. Declutter the office is not a task. It's a project. Try, today, I'm clearing the left side of the desk. Or, I'm making decisions about 5 items. Small targets reduce decision load and give you a visible finish line, which makes it easier to actually feel the win. Externalize your memory. Stop expecting your brain to hold everything. That's not what it's for. Use a written list, a timer, sticky notes, calendar reminders, a labeled basket near the door. If you get interrupted mid-project, write down exactly where you stopped. External support isn't cheating. They are tools. The goal isn't to prove you can do it without help. It's to build a life that functions. Reduce the number of decisions. Every object you pick up asks a question. That's exhausting. Simplify the categories. Keep here, belong somewhere else, donate, trash, needs more thought, and cap the needs more thought pile. Otherwise, it quietly becomes a second storage system. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Your system should work for you, not for some idealized version of what an organized home is supposed to look like. That might mean a basket where clutter naturally lands, clean clothes in open bins instead of neatly folded drawers, duplicates of the things you lose most, more labels than anyone else in your house needs. See, that's not doing organization wrong. That's personalization. And personalization is the whole point. If you've been struggling with clutter for years, you're not starting from failure. You're starting from information. And that changes everything. ADHD makes organization harder, but harder is not the same as impossible. With the right strategies, the right systems, and a little self-understanding, you can build a home that feels manageable. Not perfect, not always tidy, but functional, supportive, and easier to come back to when life gets messy. And honestly, that's what sustainable organization actually looks like. If this helped you understand the connection between ADHD and chronic disorganization, subscribe. I share realistic ADHD-friendly strategies, executive function support, and systems designed for how real people actually live. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What part of staying organized feels hardest? Getting started, making decisions, finishing what you started, keeping a system going? Drop it below. Your answer might just be the next video. I'll see you in the next one.